And that's the beef that I have with the weight loss industry. I take great issue with the weight loss industry because the approach is, oh, you're overweight and you have a Dunkin' Donuts addiction. All right, let's get you in the gym. Get on the treadmill. Let's assign you some broccoli and some chicken to eat. There's so many people that are like, I have the determination. I'm motivated. I know I'm unhealthy and I know that I need to lose weight. I know that I want to live long enough to see my grandkids and my great grandkids grow up. I don't have a lot of time. I don't have a lot of energy, but I'm going to go, I'm going to do what I can and I'm going to be devoted and dedicated to it. And they do what the weight loss industry tells them to do. And they don't get anywhere.
Welcome to the Exercise is Health podcast, where we're talking about exercise, health, and the interconnectedness of the two. We are your hosts, Charlie
and Julie,
and we will be coming to you every single week from our studio, Muscle Activation Schaumburg. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Exercise is Health podcast. We are your hosts, Charlie
and Julie,
and we are coming to you from our studio, Muscle Activation Schaumburg in Schaumburg, Illinois. Now, at Muscle Activation Schaumburg, we believe your health is your most valuable asset. Your health is one of the biggest influencers of the quality and quantity of time that you have. And while there are many aspects of health, our expertise is exercise. Exercise has been proven time and again to not only improve your health, but also increase your longevity and improve your quality of life. But we know that exercise is not the only piece of the puzzle, and that is why we are bringing you a phenomenal guest today, none other than Lyneè Urban. Lyneè Urban is a nutrition and lifestyle coach, founder of Lyneè Urban LLC, and manager of Lean Iron Kettlebell Fitness Studio. In 2014, Lyneè was an overweight mom struggling with emotional eating and food addiction. Once she discovered that stress was the foundation of her weight issues, she followed a rest-based weight loss plan that helped her lose over 30 pounds and 12% of her body fat in just 5 months. In 2017, she became a certified fat loss nutrition consultant and stress management coach, teaching hundreds of professional women how to transform their minds, bodies, and health through rest. When Lyneè is not coaching or running her fitness studio, you can find her hanging out with her husband and their 3 daughters.
Well, Lyneè, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be a part of your podcast.
Oh, awesome. We are very excited about this as well. So tell us more about yourself. How did you get into, we heard your story of kind of the weight loss journey and the transformation that you went through yourself, but kind of tell us more about, how you got interested in helping other people with their journeys.
Yeah, Charlie, it's really interesting. After going through my personal journey, the conversations that I started having with other women that I felt, were similar to me in that they were working full time, they were moms, they had a lot on their plate and not a lot of like expendable time to just focus on them and their health. A lot of the frustration that I heard from them was related to the fact that when they did have the extra time to, let's say, go to the gym or to meal prep, they weren't getting the results that translated from all of the effort that they were putting in. And so it felt like wasted time when they had very little time to begin with. So listening to those women and having those conversations with coworkers and friends that were in the same exact position that I was in prior to my weight loss journey, that's what really motivated me to come out of my shell and to get the training and the certifications and everything that I needed in order to help walk women along the path that helped me get to ultimately where I am today. So that was definitely my motivation behind turning my weight loss journey into, okay, how can I actually help other women and coach other women to walk along their own journeys?
Very cool. Well, tell us more about that weight loss journey, because we touched on it briefly in your bio, but give a little bit more of the details of everything that you went through and how you figured out how to change your life.
Yeah. So it's funny because when I look at photos of myself previously, I wasn't obese. I wasn't over. I think someone once joked like, Lyneè, your before picture looks like what I want my after picture to look like. So, it wasn't, I wasn't carrying a large amount of weight, but I was probably about 40, 45 pounds overweight, which on a 5'2" frame is actually pretty significant. But the problem was, it was my health. I was really sick. And I had a really, really negative relationship with food. So I did suffer from food addiction, and I did struggle with emotional eating. And that food addiction, it was very similar to other types of addictions where I couldn't gain any control over what I ate, over how much I ate. And I think it was the lack of control that was leading to, now all of a sudden I'm getting sicker and sicker because I can't control my eating. That was really the catalyst for me to wake up and say, right now I'm on a very specific trajectory that's going to lead to early death, period. And I knew that based on family members who were suddenly passing away from strokes, from cancer, from ALS, and those different, from diabetes, those different diseases in my family. So I could look in my future and I could see, okay, this is what's coming down the line for me, and my inability to gain some control over my food is going to lead me directly down that path, and there's nothing that I can do to stop it. So for me, prior to that moment where I realized I have to do something, prior to that moment, it was just all about, I just want to get back into, my size 3 before I had my kids. I just want to be able to wear a swimsuit again. I don't really care how I do it. I just want to get there. And so that led to like 8 years of the yo-yo dieting and the extreme like exercise, and hundreds of dollars spent on the latest gadgets and gizmos and weight loss plans and all those things that ultimately always led to me gaining back my weight plus some. And so finally, after that 8-year battle, when it finally became more so about my health as opposed to my weight, that's when I really woke up. I really found the strategy that worked for me, and the rest from that point is history.
Lyneè, you bring up so many good points, and I want to touch on one of them. And I think you're actually the first podcast ever to say this, but I think Charlie and I have talked so many times about how this is so true, but that you didn't say that you were diagnosed with some kind of disease or illness or sickness, but you still called yourself sick. And I mean, in Charlie and I have talked about this many times. It's, in our opinion, that is so true for so many people. And I want to talk a little bit about that, because I think there are so many people walking around right now that, us as, we're in the field, so we see it all the time, so obviously, but we would probably call them sick, although in the doctor world, it's not like, well, let's label this as some kind of, illness, but it's really the absence of health, and also the absence of like, I'm not even working on this health. And I almost like to think of it as your body has like so much limited ability to be resilient to the world and to life. So talk to us about, what was that like realization like to label yourself almost like, wow, I'm sick, man, this is not good. And tell us too, like, what is it like when, do you have these discussions with your clients about this topic?
I feel like, Julie, we could spend maybe an hour and a half just on this alone. And I'll try to refrain from going down all of my rabbit holes regarding this. But I think the biggest thing that my eyes are open to today, as opposed to years ago before I started my journey, is that I would say the overwhelming majority of us are sick. Mm-hmm. And we live with symptoms and pain and discomfort that we have accepted as just a normal part of, let's say, life, or a normal part of aging, or just it's a normal part of, I was once having a conversation with someone who consistently had gas after every meal, and they thought that that was normal. Mm-hmm. And those are, the things that I learned is like, actually, we don't have to live like this. And living with these discomforts and these aches and these pains and these illnesses and things, this is actually not what life is supposed to be about. And this is actually your body trying to tell you that the current lifestyle that you have is actually leading you straight to death. And not a pretty nice death at the end of your life, at the end of a long life, a very a death that can be very tragic and that can come way like too much sooner than it was supposed to. So that for me, the defining moment was when I had realized after 14 nights in a row that I had woken up at 3 a.m. ready to vomit.
Oh.
And what's funny, Julie, and it's funny that you mentioned this, is what's funny is that I didn't even know. It wasn't until night 14 that I realized it's been 2 straight weeks that I've been doing this. There's something wrong. I'm sick. And it was very clear to me at that point that I can go to the doctor and go get a diagnosis and go get prescribed some medication and go, find a label and get a label to be placed on this and just live the rest of my life like this. Or I can figure out if there's anything that I can do with my nutrition, with my exercise, with my lifestyle in order to reverse what I've done to myself and in order to heal myself, so to speak, through my lifestyle, as opposed to accepting that this sickness is now going to be a part of my life. And so that's one of the biggest conversations I have now with my current clients, especially when we first start working together, is I always ask them, besides your weight loss goal, besides what you want to weigh, what size dress you want to, besides wanting to wear the bikini to the beach, we got all that written down. Now, how do you want to feel? What are your internal health goals? How do you want to feel when you wake up in the morning? And how do you want to feel when you go to bed? Because depending on their answer, that's going to help me determine, okay, so yes, let's definitely continue to place our eyes on the weight loss prize, but let's also make sure that we keep our eyes on those internal health prizes. Because if you start feeling better and you're no longer feeling sick based on the work that we're doing, that to me, that's a bigger win than you were able to lose 10 pounds. You were able to fit into that dress size. That's so much more important. And when I get to the end of my work with my clients, after they lost a bunch of weight, lost a bunch of inches, they always tell me, Lyneè, this was never about the weight loss. It's about now I feel better. I feel more alive. And I feel like I'm able to live a life of intention simply because of the work that I did with my diet and exercise. And I do backflips, guys. When I hear that, I'm like, yes, I'm running around, climbing up the walls. Like that to me, that is the ultimate success.
I love that you said that, to you, it's like you do the backflips when people are feeling alive, amazing, feeling good. Whereas, a lot of times clients, they're people living in this world or in the United States, probably in the whole world, are so good at identifying one really great symptom of poor health, which is being overweight. And I think the other one is like feeling achy and lethargic. And both of those we normally blame the weight on like, I'm too busy. And then the achy and lethargic is like, I'm just getting old. Like, we kind of pass off those symptoms of like, hey, your life isn't going in the right direction here. And there's a lot of things you can be doing to improve your health. But I love that you, because Charlie and I share in this, that it's like, yeah, we're excited that you're losing weight too. But until you experience like, wow, your body, you feel like you can own your body. Like you're owning this like life that you're living in, which is such a more amazing feeling, I think, and more empowering for people to become more independent too and make it a lifestyle than just like, yay, I lost half a pound. It's like, okay, well, pee a little and you might lose half a pound,
So, Lyneè, night 14, you wake up and you're still feeling ill, and you have this realization that, okay, something needs to be done. So, you said, all right, you started looking into your exercise, your nutrition, lifestyle management, stress management. What things did you find, and what things did you start implementing? Kind of take us down that path, because I'd be curious to, one, learn about what you did, but then two, see the timeline of when you started to notice that you were doing better.
Yeah, that's such a great question, Charlie. So at that point, this was 8 years after I had started trying to lose weight, right? So at that point, I read everything, I tried everything. I knew I could write books on everything. But I knew that because after that 8 year battle, I still had not won that battle. And now I was even getting sicker. I knew that there was something out there, that there was just something missing. There was like something that I wasn't connecting with. And the research after night 14, the research that I started, I was looking for something very specific. And I found it when I came across an article by Dr. Jay Tita called How to Lose Belly Fat. I was like, okay, great. My 15,000th article I'm reading on how to lose belly. Perfect. I'm looking
Just
forward to reading 15,001. Okay, let's see what this has to say. But in that article, I read about how there is a hormonal impact to belly fat. I read that belly fat is connected to insulin and cortisol. And I was like, wait a second, I'm sorry. What is this? Are you telling me that there's a hormonal foundation of our weight gain and there are hormonal reasons why we gain weight in certain areas versus others? There's a hormonal reason why weight comes off on certain areas of the body first before other areas of the body transform. Are you saying that it's not me, it's not my laziness or my lack of willpower or, all this? Are you saying that there is actually a biochemical reason why I can't seem to stop eating chocolate chip cookies? Like it's and reading that article, I mean, that really, I poured myself then into going down just that very specific lane, researching how the different hormones that we produce, how they impact our weight.
Mhm.
And what all of that research ultimately led me to one kind of core foundation that impacts those hormones that then impact our weight, which is stress.
Mhm.
And I realized that living a life as a full-time working mom of three daughters
Mhm.
with all of these responsibilities and all this pressure that I put on myself,
Mhm.
and now on top of that, I'm trying to like lose weight and do all of those things.
Mhm.
I realized that I had to first shift my focus and adjust my lifestyle to a lifestyle that focused on rest and stress management.
Mhm.
Because if I'm well rested, if my mind is rested, then all of a sudden I have the motivation to be consistent in my exercise. Then all of a sudden, with that consistency in my exercise, I have the motivation to look for different meals and different types of nutrition plans that actually fit me, that's actually more sustainable for who I am and what my palate looks like. And
Mhm.
what ended up happening was I ended up being able to kind of craft and create a very unique and customized exercise plan and
Mhm.
meal plan that works specifically for me as a working mom of three. That may not work for, the 45-year-old, divorcee. It may not work for the 19-year-old like college athlete, but
Mhm.
it works for me. And that that is what led to, I would say, the sustainability, because at this point it's been 6 years.
Yeah.
And you guys already know that many people who gain weight or who lose weight, they gain it back
Mhm.
consistently. Like,
Yeah.
but for me to be able to not only lose the weight, like kind of once and for all, but then to sustain it, we found the golden tuna. And
Yeah.
that's, as a coach, that's where I want to bring the rest of my clients to, is let's shed all of the knowledge and information and, the things that we picked up about weight loss over the years. Let's shed all of that and let's find very specifically what you have to do in your exercise, your nutrition, and in your lifestyle to make this sustainable for you.
That's awesome. And Lyneè, as you're talking, I was just remembering like a story in my own life where I wasn't intending to do any of this, but it actually happened. So I actually moved to Illinois from Florida, like how many years ago? 8 years now?
7.
7. Anyways, I was like, early to mid 20s, all we're taught is like to push, go, 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 keep doing it, work all the time, and I remember I was like, wow, I feel like poop, like, wow, how is like when I go to the doctor's office, why aren't they like, Julie, you are like the most unhealthy person. So anyways, I remember I was working at this place that did like hormonal testing, and they're like, hey, like you're in adrenal fatigue or exhaustion or whatever. So anyways, my hormones were completely off. So I remember telling Charlie like, wow, this is really bad. Like I can't even stand up without like getting lightheaded and stuff. And I remember telling myself, okay, for the next month or 2 months or however long it takes, every time I'm tired, instead of eating or going on my phone or watching TV because I'm tired, I'm not going to just lounge. I'm actually just going to actually go to sleep. I'm going to take a nap. And I remember I lost 7 pounds. I couldn't believe it. Like, I didn't know I had 7 pounds to lose because, I was a trainer, I'm healthy. And I remember thinking, like, people were like, wow, what'd you do? Like, I mean, you don't look like an amazing weight loss transformation, but you really have changed. I was like, actually, I've just been napping. Like, instead of going to coffee or, a quick cookie or some sugar, like, I've just been resting. And I remember that was like the most amazing thing I ever did. And it really taught me that rest is so important. And I think that so often with clients, you probably see this all the time, now I'm getting excited about it, is that like, oh, we're overweight or we have, whatever going on or our nutrition's not in balance. So we need to do more. We need to do more. We're not doing enough. And sometimes like, wait, what if we just did less? Like, what if when your body asked you for rest, you rested instead of ate the Cinnabon, or whatever. Anyways, I was just thinking of that story, and I couldn't believe that happened to me. I was like, what? How did I lose 7 pounds? I didn't try to lose 7 pounds, but I was just like listening to like actually what my body was saying rather than what I thought I could do just to get by, So anyways, that sparked my memory of that story.
That is amazing. I'm like over here, I'm doing the jazz snaps.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Yes, I'm just clapping over here. That is, and it's so common, and it's really sad that our society and our culture actually promotes and celebrates the go, 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 the nonstop, the hustle, the team no sleep. I mean, it's sad that that's celebrated in our culture, because that, I believe, is what's ultimately killing us.
Once you started to implement these changes, was it like, a week and everything was better? Or, what was that kind of progression like for you? What were the first things that you noticed? And what kind of things did you start implementing? Was it like Julie, where you were implementing naps, or were there other, lifestyle practices, whether it's like meditation or yoga, or, something to try to manage your stress or reduce your stress? Talk to us about that.
So this is going to sound probably a little cheesy, but the very first change that I noticed was actually a transformation in my level of gratitude, which was a very surprising side effect of this lifestyle. Yes, it was. And I remember very specifically, it was about 2 weeks after I began this, kind of lifestyle change, that I woke up just feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude for my husband, for my kids, for my life, for my job where I worked. And I didn't know why. It was it was very emotional for me to like kind of wake up and realize I am blessed. And I don't know what it was about, like just eating better and, exercising in the way that I was exercising and walking. And, to answer that question really quickly, the system was very basic. It wasn't complex. I exercise 3 times a week for about 15 to 20 minutes, primarily focused on, weight training and kind of high intensity interval, body weight training, those things. I went on, I walked every day for about 45 to 60 minutes, broken up throughout the day. And I ate my diet primarily consisted of just nutrient dense foods.
Mm.
So foods that had a ton of nutritional value in them. And then I prioritized getting to bed on time, getting a good night's sleep, and waking up in the morning. Now I say that it's simple, right? And it sounds simple. Theoretically it is simple. But then what I realized along the way was that then I had to start sacrificing the things in my life that interfered
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
with my ability to get to bed on time. That interfered with my ability to get to the gym. That was the hard part, is now these, roadblocks are coming up in my life, like, big deadlines at work, or, whatever it was, all these responsibilities. And then I started being able to see the areas in my life that were actually contributing to me not living a healthy lifestyle, because it was robbing my time, robbing my willpower. And over the course of, I would say it probably took about maybe another 8 to 10 weeks or so, that I started letting go. I started letting go of those, like, friendships and relationships and those habits, and, sacrificing those things so that I could get to the gym. I can eat nutrient dense foods. I could sleep well, and I could get my walks in. And anything that interfered with my ability to do those 4 things was out the door. So I kicked some things out of my life, for the sake of that lifestyle. And I did it because like I said, the transformation began with the gratitude. And after the gratitude, then came, like, the energy, where then I noticed my energy was completely stable from the time that I woke up in the morning to the time that I went to bed. There were no afternoon dips. There was none of that. There was no lethargy. The fatigue had disappeared. I noticed that I was thinking clearer. And this is like, by week 3 or 4, my thinking had cleared up. It didn't feel like, my brain was so foggy. I felt sharp, mentally sharp. And after those things, like sleeping better, sleeping like a baby. You with 3, you guys know, with your little one, Charlotte, like, having 3 kids, I haven't slept since 2006, when I had my first one. But that was the next thing that transformed for me, was just good, really just peaceful quality sleep at night. And then all of a sudden, like, my clothes started falling off. I like, that's when the inches started coming off and the weight started dropping and the clothes were falling off of me. People had thought I'd lost 20 pounds in 8 weeks, and it was like, no, I just lost a crap ton of inches. Like, the physical change, that's when all of that set in. But what I now know as a coach is that when I start working with women, if they tell me, hey, like, I feel a lot more, and I haven't lost any weight or inches, but I feel a lot more energetic. I'm sleeping better. I feel a lot more peaceful and just calm during the day. I'm like, okay, those inches aren't far behind.
Yeah.
Like, that's sort of like your metabolism and your body, like, resetting and repairing itself from all the damage that we've done to it, right? From living in such an unhealthy lifestyle. Your body's repairing itself and preparing itself now to release the weight and let go of the weight. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I would say by month 5, Charlie, I was down about, I'd say 15 pounds. I was down, maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 dress sizes at that point. And then it took another couple months. And when all was said and done, I lost about 35 pounds and about 7 dress sizes or so.
It's amazing.
Great.
Yeah.
It really seems like, from the approach, it's like, hey, you obviously weren't pleased with your weight because you'd been, like, trying to attack the weight thing for so long. And of course, as a mom, you probably weren't that pleased with your energy levels. But I love that every action you did was just like, okay, it is healthy to get sleep, like get quality sleep. Okay, I'm going to do that. It is healthy to eat nutrient dense food. Okay, I'm going to do that. And it's just like the byproduct, like the side effect of that was all these health changes, the mental focus, the weight. And to think that, like, if we reverse that, what if we said, like, oh, you're overweight, you're not happy with like your mental function, oh, you're not happy with your energy levels throughout the day, oh, you have to go to Dunkin' Donuts every day just to get your, your sugar and caffeine fixed. What if we like started almost framing that like, hey, that is actually not the problem, that is the side effect of like all the other unhealthy actions. It'd be cool if we could switch people's brains about that. I'm sure that's like what you work with your clients on, but I was just thinking, like, what if we could reverse that narrative that you just said and said, hey, if you want to address these things, we need to address, your health actions as a whole. And then those side effects, they kind of just fizzle away.
And that's the beef, Julie, that I have with the weight loss industry.
Yeah.
I take great issue with the weight loss industry because the approach is, oh, you're overweight and you have a Dunkin' Donuts addiction. All right, let's get you in the gym. Get on the treadmill. Let's assign you some broccoli and some chicken to eat, like that's not, there's so many people. And, for me, and this is why I became a coach, it goes back to those conversations that I would have with those women that are like, I have the determination, I'm motivated, I know I'm unhealthy, and I know that I need to lose weight. I know that I want to live long enough to see my grandkids and my great grandkids grow up. I don't have a lot of time. I don't have a lot of energy, but I'm going to go, I'm going to do what I can, and I'm going to be devoted and dedicated to it. And they do what the weight loss industry tells them to do. And they don't get anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like as a mom, as a working mom with limited time, I take great issue with that. And so that's why, Julie, every client that I approach, it's like, okay, tell me what are your vices? What are your cravings? What are your favorite things that you like to eat? Let's figure out what's going on in your life that's causing that. And a lot of women feel empowered then when I talk to them about this, because just like me, they think, oh, I just don't have any willpower, or oh, like, I'm lazy and I just no. You're not lazy just because you're a lazy person. You are quote unquote lazy because you lack the energy to be able to actually be consistent in what you're supposed to do. And there's something in your lifestyle that's robbing you of that energy.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? Let's figure out what that thing is. Because if we can attack that at the root, then that will free up your energy to have the willpower to be consistent with the things that are going to get you to your goal.
That's awesome. I mean, that leads us right into kind of the main topic that we want to discuss with you today is, stress and how just our day-to-day stressors impact, willpower and ability to kind of continue to follow through and take actions with weight loss. And I'm guessing it goes far beyond weight loss to, really anything that you want to do in life. If there's a challenge that comes up throughout the day, if you don't feel like you have the willpower to do it, then that's an issue. It's less likely to get done. So talk to us more about stress and stress management, some things that you implement with yourself, and recommendations that you work with your clients on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to throw out the caveat, like right away, when we hear the word stress, we immediately think of actually the byproduct of stress. So I say the word stress and you may hear, I'm so anxious, I'm so fearful, like, I'm so overwhelmed. No. By the time you actually feel those things, it's too late. Like the impact of what's going on biochemically in your body that then produces the feelings of overwhelm and the feelings of fear and the feelings of anxiety, that actually started a while ago with something. There was some sort of catalyst. There was some trigger or something that triggered these biochemical responses in your body that are now manifesting in the form of anxiety and fear and overwhelm, right? So when I talk about stress, I'm talking about those specific lifestyle areas that set off that biochemical cascade. The biochemical cascade, some of those hormones include adrenaline and noradrenaline and cortisol. And these hormones that by themselves, they serve a very specific purpose for being able to keep us alive, right? But if there's too much of these hormones that are being released too often, and they're not being dealt with to actually bring them back down and bring them back into balance, then it's the continuous presence of these stress hormones in our bodies that then produce, right?
Sure.
They produce the fear, the overwhelm, they drain the energy, and now all of a sudden now we have cravings for Dunkin' Donuts, right? So stress management then is not, okay, I'm going to, and this is part of what it is, but it's not just, okay, I'm going to start going to yoga. Like, in addition to, okay, I'm going to start like doing my deep breathing and things, it's also searching for what is going on in my life that is causing me to even have to do these deep breathing exercises. Like, what is going on and the biggest areas that I focus on, even though there are a bunch of like micro areas, but the biggest area that I focus on is your sleep, your movement. So not just exercise and getting to the gym. Are you sedentary the whole day? Or are you making a conscious effort to get up, get off your butt and move your muscles, engage your metabolism throughout the day, right? So your sleep, your movement, and then your exercise, and then your nutrition. And typically for the women that I work with, and I'm like, okay, let's look at these 4 areas, and then let's figure out what is triggering your imbalance in these 4 areas. If you're not sleeping well, what is keeping you up at night? If you're eating donuts and French fries and burgers, what is it about your palate or your neurotransmitters that are making you crave those things? If you don't have the energy and the motivation to get to the gym, then what are you spending your energy on? Like, what are you motivated to do? You know what I mean? And if you're not moving throughout the day, what kind of lifestyle are you living? What kind of job do you have? What are you doing in your lifestyle that is preventing you from being more active? And so I'm sure you can imagine that takes several weeks to unpack, right? And to dissect kind of all of those things. Yeah. So me personally, at the end of every day, I'm always ranking 3 very specific things. I'm ranking my hunger levels, I'm ranking my energy, and I'm ranking what I'm craving. And I know that if my hunger is stable, if I'm not hungry for anything, then that means that I've had everything that I needed to eat for the day. It was nutrient dense, it was good. If my energy is stable, that means the same thing. If I don't have any cravings for anything, that means that everything that I did that day led to a perfect balance in my hormones and my neurotransmitters. And all I need to do tomorrow is to make sure that I repeat the same things that I did today. And every day then is about finding those very specific meals and exercises and movement patterns and, the rest and relaxation, and just creating a day to day where I'm following those same exact things. That's how I maintain. That's what I do to keep myself in check. And then that's what I teach my clients to do in order to gauge, okay, is what we're doing, is it working? Is it sustainable? Because I can have you exercising and dieting, and you can be losing weight and losing inches, but if your energy is still low, and if you're still craving ice cream at the end of the night, then we know that we only have about 3 to 4 days before you dig into the bottom of that ice cream barrel, right? Before running back to Dunkin' Donuts. We have a very limited time. So now let's adjust, let's figure out what we need to adjust so that you can continue losing weight in inches, but now your hunger is stable, your energy is stable, and your cravings are stable. I said a lot of words, and I'm sure I didn't answer all the questions that you asked, Charlie. So.
That was very informative. Yeah, that was great.
I have a question about this because you brought up a great point prior where it was like, hey, when I said yes to like my health, I had to start saying no to some other stuff, like sacrificing. And I think that this, I, my question about it is, what do you do with clients working through this? Because some things are something they've done their whole life or they enjoy, or I could assume some things are like, hey, every Friday night and Saturday night, we do pizza and beer with my friends, and that's how we socialize. But that also means that every 5 days, I'm doing this assault to my nutrition, my body's having to re-regulate, and to my sleep. And so how do people, build the willpower or the drive or to overcome this? I'm sure, you don't give up all your friends all the time, but maybe there are some situations that maybe you do give up. But what is this like for people, and how do you work with people to work through this and keep the willpower to keep doing these kinds of things?
That's such a great question. And this is where the mindset, coaching part comes in. Because all of us really believe that, let's take, for example, the pizza and beer night with friends. We have developed these our brain, we've developed a pattern in our brain that says socializing and fun with friends equals pizza and beer on Friday and Saturday night, right? That's the formula that we created. That's all our brain knows. So what I try to teach my clients to do is I try to teach them to find the emotion and the experience that they're actually seeking in that pizza and beer night, which is, what is it? It's freedom. It's fun. It's like release from the cares of just release from the stressors of the week. And now I get to let loose and I get to connect with like-minded people. That's actually what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And you don't need to eat pizza and drink beer every Friday and Saturday night to find that with them. So it always starts with, when women are like, and people are like, oh, I love to do this. And I have a client that's like, every Friday night is pizza night for my family. We make pizzas together. And that is just my kids are getting older. This is just what we do. And I can't sacrifice that night because this is family night. So we had to work on the mindset part of it, is what is really happening around that dinner when you guys are making pizza, and what are you guys doing? You're talking to each other. You're engaging with, you're spending quality time with each other. That can still happen outside of pizza. You've made pizza the physical, the physical manifestation of the connection with your family, when really it's the connection with your family that's more important than the pizza is. So it's always starts, Julie, with the mindset part that I talk my clients through, looking for the emotion that's attached to the thing that they don't want to sacrifice. And then after we find what the emotion is, then we just look for an alternative. Then we look for an alternative activity or something that can be a great substitute, like for the pizza and beer, but that won't sacrifice the feeling and the emotion that they're more, that they're specifically attached to.
That takes, in my opinion, that takes a lot of open-mindedness from clients. Definitely, I think clients we work with, probably same with you, they have to be in a place where like, hey, yeah, I really have to change things. And, it seems like you have so many great tools to really reframe things, really picture things in a really good, sustainable light, So I appreciate that viewpoint a lot. It's really great.
When it comes to sleep and talking with your clients about sleep, how do you approach that conversation? It sounds like, when you were talking about kind of doing your end of the day check-in, how are your energy levels and your cravings and things like that, and then looking at, okay, well, what was your activity? What did you eat? And, what things happened throughout the day? Where does sleep fall into the picture for how you coach your clients, and like what your clients need to do in order to get the results that they're looking for?
Sleep is everything. Sleep is everything. And it's also the most difficult, especially with a lot of the clients that I work with that happen to be women that are pre-menopausal or going through menopause or postmenopausal. So a lot of their sleep issues have to do with those hormonal imbalances that are just, naturally occurring in their bodies, right? And so for my clients, I always start with the place of what are you doing an hour and a half to 2 hours before sleep, right? Because just because of where a lot of people are at hormonally, it really isn't. They try really hard to get good sleep and they just can't, right? So this is where it falls down now to kind of customization and making adjustments that are unique to the individual. So far, the majority of my clients are scrolling through social media before they go to bed, right? Like I had one client that was like, yeah, I watch CNN before I go to sleep. I'm like, why would you? That's horrible. Please stop doing that immediately. Don't do that. So far, like the majority of the people that I've worked with are practicing kind of unhealthy actions or behaviors that are interfering with their body's ability to wind them down and prepare them for a good night's sleep. I had one client who she suffered from a racing mind, and it was so hard for her to fall asleep because like her mind would just race. And so for her, I told her, okay, let's say about 30 to 45 minutes before you go to sleep, I want you to get out paper and pen, and I want you to brain dump. What it doesn't have to be an organized journal entry, just literally every single thought that comes to your mind, I want you to write it down. And she started doing that. And lo and behold, the very first night she did that, she slept like a baby.
Wow.
And she didn't wake up in the middle of the night with a racing mind like she typically does. She slept through the night and she slept like a baby. So sleep is so essential, and it's difficult because everyone has different reasons as to why they can't sleep well. So my suggestion is you always start with what you're doing an hour and a half to 2 hours before bedtime. And my suggestions are you dim the lights around your house, you turn off all, televisions, electronics. You absolutely do not go on social media. You don't watch the news. You don't do anything that's going to stimulate your brain and make your brain think that you have to stay awake, and stay up, and allow your body's like natural process to occur in terms of releasing melatonin, in terms of starting just the wind down process in your mind, in your body, to prepare you for a good night's sleep. So some other, tips and tidbits are just kind of sitting in a dimly lit room, listening to very calming music, practicing some breathing exercises. That is just no matter what the reason is, as to why you can't sleep well at night, that is just a really fantastic way to start preparing your body and to help with that. And then if all else fails, and I do have some clients that are like, I'm doing everything right that I'm supposed to. I still wake up in the middle of the night, still feeling kind of groggy when I wake up the next morning. That's when at that point, it becomes your responsibility to find periods throughout the day where you can just pause and just reset and relax. Like turn off the noise, get into someplace quiet. It literally will only take you 2 to 3 minutes to just kind of close your eyes and to rest your mind before you like kind of jump back in. And so back to your point, Julie, of what you were saying is like when you feel that like that fatigue and that I'm tired, instead of going for another cup of coffee, like use that as an excuse, as your opportunity to say, hey, everyone, I need like 3 minutes, please. Like, give me like 5 minutes. I'll be back in 5. And go someplace quiet, close your eyes, like still your mind, do some deep breathing, and then jump back in. And typically I find in regards to sleep, if you can't get everything you need from sleep, at least try to supplement for it with some like rest and relaxation periods throughout the day.
I love that. It's like good sleep hygiene practices. It reminds me a lot of, and I think we all know this as humans, but like how I have to treat our toddler around sleep. You know, I create her sleep hygiene. And I wonder if like we thought like we're our own parents. Like I'm the parent of Julie and I'm going to create the routine. Like if you knew your baby would sleep like a baby, if, okay, you did your warm bath, you did a nice change, some family snuggles, some rocking, some warm milk, and then you knew that was going to work every time. Like, why wouldn't you do that? So then you do it. You get in this routine. It happens at the same time every day. They sleep great, which sets them great for a great day. I feel like we never grow out of that. It's just like, who's the responsibility on now? Like, my mom doesn't tell me like, okay, Julie, time to get a nice warm bath. Let's do some rocking. Let's rest. Let's snuggle with a loved one. Get some like positive touch in there. But like, what if we had our sleep hygiene routine and we like parented our own selves and like said, hey, yeah, like it's 8:00. I need to be sleeping by 10. We need to dim the lights, snuggle with your partner, relax, whatever, have some hot tea, whatever feels good. But like create that as a routine, because I think we never grow out of it. Like we get in a sleep routine when we're 6 months old and we need the routine.
I absolutely 100% agree with you, Julie.
Treat yourself like a toddler.
Yes. That's the takeaway from this podcast episode.
Exactly. All right, Lyneè, so we have the nighttime check-ins with, all right, how was your energy level throughout the day? Was it consistent? What cravings did you have? How intensely were the cravings? What was your activity like during the day? What foods did you eat during the day? Thinking about your sleep hygiene, hour and a half to 2 hours before, dimming the lights, finding your nighttime routine to kind of unwind and get yourself ready for a restful night's sleep. Is there anything else that you would recommend somebody starting to implement into their life to start to not only better manage their stress, but promote rest and recovery so they can start to, like you're saying, change their internal environment to, drop weight, drop inches, but most importantly, feel better and improve their health overall?
Yeah, I always say to start with the why and to start with the intention. Like, what is my intention? Okay. If my intention is to live a long, healthy lifestyle, like to live a long, healthy life, then I know for sure that all these things that we've been talking about during this episode, that good nutrition, quality sleep, good exercise, and good movement, those are the requirement, right? And if those are the requirement, finding the why and then finding out what is stopping me from being able to do these things. What's interfering with my ability to be able to follow these 4 very basic steps. And then after you figure out what is stopping you from and what's interfering, then at that point you have to make the choice. Do I sacrifice the things that are stopping me from being able to do these 4 things? Or do I just continue on and then just not achieve the goals that I want of a long, healthy lifestyle? Like it really is, it's asking the questions and making the choices. Like ask the questions and make the choice. So the very first place I feel in terms of like tangible action, like what can I do now that I've listened to this podcast episode? I'm pumped up, I'm motivated, I'm ready to go. Like the very first thing that you can do, I would say, is just if you can just start with prioritizing good quality sleep and movement throughout the day. Just start there. Like diet, exercise, like those things, those will come later. But if you can start with sleep, because if you're well rested, a well-rested mind is a clear mind, and a well-rested mind guides you into like the things that you're supposed to eat. It guides you into that time, that exercise that you're supposed to do. And that's the biggest thing that I realized for me, and then working with people, is that we have like this internal barometer that is always trying to guide us where we're supposed to go, right? And guide us into like, we have that voice going off when we pick up that piece of chocolate cake. That's like, hey, come on. You know what I'm saying? Like it's already there.
Mm,
But it's really just it's stress, and it's this unhealthy lifestyle that we're living that is like, no, I'm tired.
mm.
I need this cake to like wake me up and to keep me going. So if we can just start with good quality sleep, right? And if we can just start with like 3 to 4 times a day, taking like 3 to 4 minutes to just get into a quiet place, still our minds, right? And then jump back into whatever it is that we're doing. And then if we can focus on just moving throughout the day, keeping our bodies moving and keeping active. I set an alarm to go off about every 30 to 45 minutes to remind me if I've been sitting,
I love that. I
get your
love
butt
that.
up, do some
Standing ovation.
squats or
Yeah.
something. You know
Yeah.
what I'm like? Go do some stairs and then jump back into your work or whatever it is that you're
Yes,
doing. I think if tangibly, if you can just start there, then other things will definitely fall into place.
that's awesome.
For
Well,
all
that
of our listeners, I know a lot of you guys listen to us weekly, but if you aren't already hearing this, you're like, Lyneè, you're talking about what Julie and Charlie talk about, which is called all the time exercise. We labeled it as all the time exercise,
Right?
which is the exercise and movement you get that is not like change into gym clothes. It's the stuff like, hey, I'm going to intentionally just go check the mail because it's going to be a little movement. I've been sitting for a while, or, oh, looks like my water's half full. I don't have to go fill it, but I've been sitting for a while. I'm going to get up and move around the office or go downstairs and fill up my water glass because it's just time to get on my feet, get a little bit of blood flowing. And actually, we've done a lot of like educational talks about the immense health benefits that result just from being moving on a regular basis throughout the day. And it is amazing at starting to fight a lot of the chronic ailments that you brought up, like heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure. So thank you for bringing that up. And for our
yes.
listeners, that is the same advice that we give all the time, but Charlie and I call it our all the time exercise, which is,
Yeah.
again, just the movement that you do throughout the day that you don't usually call working out or exercise, but it's movement. It's great, and it's great for your health.
Now, Lyneè, that's a great segment. Tell us more about what you do on a daily and weekly basis to promote your own health and longevity.
Sure. So my days always start with the night before, right? Because we were talking about sleep. So tomorrow is going to start with tonight and making sure that since I manage a kettlebell fitness studio
Oh,
and
cool.
I've taken over the training. And so my first class, starts at 6:30 in the morning. So what does that mean? That means that you will not catch me up at midnight,
Sure.
like, on social media. No, sir,
Right.
no, ma'am. You are going to find me starting at about 9 o'clock, starting my wind down process. So I always start with a really like just healthy wind down process in the evening. It starts with maybe, just a nice hot shower, dim lights in my room, some music, some candles, some journaling to kind of write out my thoughts, to empty my mind, to clear my mind, and some prayer, and then, go to sleep, get a nice full night's sleep. Also, just as far as like nutrition goes, just for maintenance and also some other goals that I'm steadily working toward for nutrition, I'm a huge fan of intermittent fasting. And
Mm,
so I typically, fast for about 16 or 17 hours. So I'll wake up in the morning, I'll teach my classes. In between my classes, I may go for a walk around the neighborhood of my studio. And then after that, then I'll, prepare my breakfast. And then I exercise maybe about 3 times a week, where my exercise is very much, it's kind of strength training and kettlebell training, but that is not really where my priorities really lie in my sleep, and they lie in my movement.
mm,
They lie in, sort of staying active throughout the day and getting good quality sleep, maintaining, my fasting windows,
mm,
and then also spending as much quality time as I possibly can with my extra time, like with my family, with my girls, because I know that kind of quality time with them, that stops me from like running to the chocolate cake, you
sure.
know, like I feel really good like spending quality time with my family and balancing that with some of the other things that I have to do. So yeah, a good sleep, intermittent fasting, exercising a few times a week, and staying active.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Now, is there anything that we haven't asked you that we should have asked you about your area of expertise?
I think we kind of covered it all. I think between, everything that we talked about, I think the last part maybe that we didn't cover is just the accountability piece,
Yeah, yeah.
and the significance of having someone in your life, preferably a professional,
Hmm.
someone who, is used to holding people accountable, like
Yeah.
maybe that's something that they do for a living. That is essential. I don't think it's possible for us to hold ourselves accountable because we are very quick to come up with excuses and justifications. But I think that it's really important to have people in your life not only that are number one going to support your journey, so friends and family members that are not going to try to sabotage you, but that are actually going to be supportive of what it is you're trying to do, and then having another person in your life that will hold you accountable to the goals that you said that you want to accomplish. So that's where I feel like, people like us really come in that we don't have emotional ties to you. We're emotionally tied to your success. So
Hmm.
if you tell us that you have this weight that you want to lose, but more importantly, you want to be healthier and feel better and live a long life, then we're going to hold you accountable for the activities that we know that's going to get you there. So I believe that it's really important if you have the opportunity to have a coach or to have someone to help hold your hand, to motivate you when you're feeling down, to keep you going, and then also definitely to hold you accountable. I really feel like between all the things that we talked about, that would really, really help get you where it is you're looking to go.
Well, on that note, tell us more about how our listeners can connect with you, find out more about you, your social handles, and where you are hanging out online.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find my social media handles. It's at Operation Fix My Life. That's the code name that I called my transformation years ago when I said, you know
Nice.
what, I got to get myself together. And that's turned now into the brand name. So it's Operation Fix My Life, and that's my website too, operationfixmylife.com. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, and that's the website that you can go to visit me. And if you are interested in kettlebell training or, using that as your form of exercise or whatever it is, then that website is leaniron.com.
Nice.
And you can connect with me over there as well.
Perfect. And we'll put all those links in the show notes so people can find all that information there. Well,
Awesome.
the question that we like wrapping up with for all of our guests is, what is your definition of health?
So my definition of health is being in a place where you can actively pursue your purpose.
Mm, mm,
So if you can actively pursue your purpose, that means that you've created a lifestyle where you know mentally what your purpose is, and you have the will, you have the energy and the drive to actually pursue it.
mm,
And the reason why that's my definition is because I had no idea what my purpose was in life until after I became healthy.
mm,
And getting healthy opened my eyes to the fact that I am meant to serve other women, other men that want to achieve optimal health. My purpose is to serve them and
mhm.
to be a source of support and to provide resources for them. So I feel like if you're walking out your purpose, you will do the things that you have to do to keep you healthy and to keep you alive long enough, right? Because that's your passion, that's your drive. And if you're not walking out your purpose, then pursuing optimal health will lead you to the path where you actually find what it is that you're supposed to be doing. So I consider living out your purpose and health, to me, those are synonymous. That's my definition.
Love
Love
that.
it.
That is great stuff. Well, Nate, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today, for sharing your expertise. I mean, the topics that you're bringing up are so important for people to understand. They're thinking, okay, you know what? Yeah, yeah, my health is about, being, really strict with my diet and being really strict with my exercise. And then in the meantime, in between those things, I'm just going to run myself ragged. But because I'm doing, the really strict diet and the really strict exercise, I'm going to be good to go. And it's like, wait a second, your body needs some time to recover. Your body, needs that sleep, needs that you time to be able to balance out and build itself back up. So thank you for sharing the work that you do with us here today, and I'm looking forward to definitely continuing to learn more about it.
Absolutely. I feel so blessed to have been able to just connect with you guys and to stumble across the work that you do. So thank you very much for first of all, for starting this podcast. I think that this is you guys have an essential voice out there in the fitness industry. So thank you for starting this podcast and also allowing me to be a part of it. I'm very thankful.
Well, it's our pleasure. Really.
Thank you for joining us. That was one of my favorite conversations. That was really cool.
That was a lot of fun.
So who do you know that needs to hear this episode? Who do you know that is struggling to lose weight, that is interested in losing weight, and they feel like they are being failed by the weight loss industry? Share this episode with them so they can learn of the amazing work that Lyneè is doing by helping her clients lose weight through rest and through managing their stress. And while you're online, head on over to iTunes and leave us a rating and review. It helps people find this episode when they're looking for podcasts on exercise and when they're looking for podcasts on health. So if you found value in this conversation today, let us know by leaving us that 5-star rating and review. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. We always appreciate it. Have a fantastic week, and we'll talk with you all next week.